Welcome to Finding Your Strengths, a new approach to supporting commercially sexually exploited youth. In this session, you'll find out how to effectively use the Finding Your Strengths worksheet with young people. I'm Claudine O'Leary, an independent consultant and community educator based in Milwaukee. Finding Your Strengths is the companion tool to the Building a Strong Team Response to High Risk and Trafficked Youth Guide, designed to support team members in effectively engaging and supporting young people at each stage of readiness. You can find information about that guide at the link provided here. Please search for the Building a Strong Team Response video to learn more. We recommend starting with the Building a Strong Team guide before you reach for the youth worksheet. In early 2020, Rebecca Detman and I began work on a set of tools to highlight the strengths and resilience of young people and build the skills of their workers to effectively respond to youth from a strength-based approach. We saw teams feeling stuck and unsure of all their options at each stage of readiness, and youth wishing that teams would see them as a whole person, seeing not just the risks, but also their strengths. Our goal was to create practical guides to support a strength-based approach with young people at high risk for or who had been sex trafficked, to offer new ways to measure success and positive changes in a young person's life, and new opportunities to partner with youth to achieve their desired goals. We had a few working assumptions. First, youth are facing a continuum of risk. Individual risk, like not having basic needs met, relationship risk, like being disconnected from family, and community risk, like living in an under-resourced neighborhood. Those risks can change, and even risks from a past experience can be reduced through a supportive response in the present. Next, we know that youth are already taking steps to protect themselves. We need ways to highlight that. Lastly, that youth deserve and need effective adult support in their lives, and adults need support and tools like this to make that possible. You can see our process here, from a literature review, listening sessions with youth workers, and discussions with young people across the state to create the worksheet you're learning about today. Finding your strengths comes as a two-sided, single-page worksheet. You're able to download a free PDF from the DCF website and print copies that you need, or ask for a free pack of 25 copies on a tear-off pad. Here's the first side. You'll note it's designed to be familiar, like a worksheet you might find in a classroom. The questions have been crafted to maximize opportunities for youth to identify areas in their life where they have strengths and potentially uncover areas where they can benefit from extra support. Ideally, this worksheet is provided to a young person by an adult who can have a follow-up conversation with them after it's been filled out. Here's the second side. We ensured that the worksheet was usable from a range of reading comprehension levels. Some youth may still benefit from filling out the worksheet together with someone who can ensure understanding. You'll know best for the young people you work with. This side also gives some context for why the worksheet was created and opportunities for young people to learn more about exploitation and available resources. This worksheet can be used in a variety of settings, including home visits, school, community groups, treatment centers, meetings with advocates or mentors, and much more. Once you've familiarized yourself with the worksheet and want to introduce it to a young person, consider a few strategies first. Asking young people if now is a good time to try filling out a worksheet helps young people know it's an option and not required paperwork. You can stress that youth can decide on the pace, filling it out all at once, one side at a time, or a few sections to start. Some youth will want to fill it out on their own, while others will prefer to work on it together with you. You can also use questions from the worksheet to start a conversation without ever pulling out the whole worksheet. If you're wondering, this worksheet does not require any disclosure of past experiences being exploited, nor does it make any assumptions about young people filling out the worksheet. Let's explore the worksheet section by section. Finding your strengths starts with a small introduction, letting young people know that this worksheet is about finding areas of their life where they're already strong and areas they want to improve. By sharing some encouraging language here, how everyone needs extra support in their life at some points, we're setting the stage for more open responses. This first question focuses on basic needs. We know from research and experience as youth workers how much getting basic needs met, like food, a safe place to be, clothes, and hygiene supplies, can be a protective factor against exploitation. A young person can shade up to the level that makes sense to them. Someone who can confidently report that their basic needs are being met can count that as a strength. For those youth who report anything less than always getting their basic needs met, well, this is an area of immediate concern for teams to address. It's also an opportunity for a conversation. For example, young people might share that care and affection are basic needs as well. So they might have a few outfits, but little care and affection in their life, which can have a significant impact on someone. It's one of the many reasons we ask that you ensure a follow-up conversation happens once a young person has filled out this worksheet, so you don't miss an opportunity to address a stated need. Next up, we have a question on how's your connection to your family? You'll note that we use non-traditional scaling options. If a young person wanted to create another option or shade in between two options, we encourage it. It's up to youth to define what family means to them, too. Some youth might decide to answer this question differently for different sides of their family, different family members, or for chosen family. Strong family connection is another protective factor that can be a strength to note for some young people. Improving family connections might mean reconnecting with family members, figuring out ways to heal family conflicts, or making new family. We have two questions focused in on school. Research demonstrates that a young person with a solid connection to school is at a significantly reduced risk of commercial sexual exploitation compared to young people who are out of school. Of course, it's not as simple as just being in school or out. We want to draw out the strengths at each step of the process. Young people who attend school inconsistently are demonstrating positive steps that put them in a different stage of readiness than a young person who never shows up to school at all. This affirming approach can create opportunities to reframe even knowing the school you want to attend or stopping by for lunch as strengths to build upon. We encourage you to stay inquisitive, as young people may check unusual combinations, like checking both school is going great for me and I only stop by my school to talk with my friends. This is a chance to learn more and ask what's working for them and what's the next step that they'd like to take. No matter what, young people can offer ideas on what would be helpful to be most successful in school through question 4. As you can see here, built into the worksheet are simple definitions for terms like support that can help open up ideas. For example, in question 5, asking how's your connection to supportive people in your life? Strength is also about your support network, and you may find that young people have more connections than you realized. Additionally, it may prompt you to ask for a connection, for example, to a mentor or an anti-violence advocate that they didn't know was a possibility. We've added an option for someone special who supports me that for some youth might mean a romantic or dating partner. It's possible for some LGBTQ youth might feel more comfortable checking this option when sharing about someone that they're dating. It's also possible that young people might be sharing about someone the team or family wasn't aware had such an influence. It's a good opportunity to talk afterwards and ask, tell me more about how this person supports you. For those of you who are considering using this worksheet more than once to mark changes for a young person, you might find that young people check 1 or 2 of these options at one point, and then 6 months later, 3 or 4 support people because of the hard work of your team and openness of the youth to involving more support people. A deeper support network is definitely a strength. We've tried to balance the worksheet with multiple choice questions, scaling questions, and open spaces for responses. Here's an open opportunity for young people to share unique interest in an open space. Seeing the whole person is essential. Teams will find greater success working from options that already motivate young people. The last question on side 1 asks, how's your connection to healthcare? Research across the country has found that many young people are staying in contact with healthcare providers and addressing healthcare needs while they are not staying in placements or in other difficult situations, including being commercially sexually exploited. This question draws out and recognizes the strengths of young people who are taking care of their health. Now let's dive into the back side of the worksheet. On this side, we have a box here sharing with youth why we made the worksheet. We note that everyone has strengths and struggles. And unfortunately, people who take sexual advantage of youth look for those who are struggling and use that to get close. We emphasize that youth have many strengths, and this worksheet is about finding those strengths, and that recognizing what makes us vulnerable is an opportunity for teams to step up and provide extra support and options. Young people have their own language to describe their experiences with sexual exploitation, and youth workers have developed different terms. This section offers a bridge between those. This section can also be helpful for youth workers who wonder how to even bring up the topic of commercial sexual exploitation. Even if you don't share the worksheet, you can take ideas from this section for conversation opportunities with youth. Again, you'll note that this section doesn't make any assumptions about young people filling out the worksheet. It also doesn't ask for disclosures about past experiences. Instead, we have a question asking if young people want to know more about how to protect themselves from exploiters who try to take advantage of youth. You may be surprised to learn how often young people say yes to this question. Prepare ahead of time with options. It might mean educating yourself or finding another person or program who has that knowledge. This worksheet is designed to be useful across Wisconsin, so the resources here will vary. We've added a couple to start, but young people can identify helpful people and programs here. Part of your preparation before sharing the worksheet will be making sure you have the updated resources in your community. Many areas have specialized youth resource cards available. Next up is a question on safety. Youth who feel safer in their community have another strength. Keep in mind, youth will identify what community means to them. It might mean a neighborhood or an area they live. It might mean a school community. It can even mean an online community. Also note that youth can be part of many communities. So, for example, they might feel safer in one community, but not in another community where their current placement is. Strengths can also be found in the ways that young people keep themselves safer. Although you might be concerned about safety challenges in social media or online communities, you might learn of key ways young people are already keeping themselves safer through blocking people, not posting locations, or building supportive networks online. The questions here about phones reflect a conversation happening across the country. For some, young people having access to a phone means more safety, including being able to reach support people and resources. For others, access to phones have been a way that exploiters use to control youth and has led to less safety. We left this as two open-ended questions to start the conversation. Young people who have stronger connections with their support networks, including child welfare and youth justice caseworkers, have another strength to note. This question asking, how's your connection with your caseworkers, is actually two separate questions. The first, exploring how open they are to communicating with their caseworker. And the second is their experience of how available their caseworker is to them. Open communication and strong support can be a strength to build on or an opportunity for growth. This question offers an opportunity for young people to identify ways they are resilient, no matter what struggles they might have experienced or are currently experiencing. A young person might fill in options like, I stand up for myself, I have goals for my future, and I express myself through art, writing, or music. Strengths can be found everywhere, and recognizing resilience in young people is definitely a part of that. And there's a space for young people to add their own here too. The last question is a simple open-ended opportunity for young people to share anything they'd like extra support on. On each side, we've added an inspirational quote suggested by young people and encouraging words. Now that we've reviewed the worksheet, it's important to consider a few things. You might have all kinds of required paperwork for young people. This worksheet should be voluntary and always get permission from young people before sharing responses inside a team meeting. While no question on the Finding Your Strengths worksheet directly asks for a disclosure, It's possible that young people might share experiences that would require a mandated report. Be sure to share that possibility with youth if you are a mandated reporter and prepare yourself in advance. Encourage young people to use this worksheet to share their strengths and what's going well for them in more formal settings like court hearings and team meetings. We made sure to keep the worksheet to one page, and that means clearly it doesn't cover everything that could be relevant for young people. It's a starting place, informed by research and feedback from young people and experienced youth workers here in Wisconsin. In reviewing the results with a young person, you might identify a number of risks or needs, but it's a mistake to put all the emphasis on that without elevating strengths. Be sure to uplift those strengths in your conversation and with anyone the young person wants to share their responses with. That said, it's also crucial to respond to the needs that young person noted. The worksheet asks some serious questions. And if a young person is chosen to be open about those needs, including complicated needs like, say, wishing they had a more welcoming family, affirm that you've heard the young person and you want to work with them on solutions, even if it will take time. The Finding Your Strengths worksheet has many practical applications. Youth responses can inform safety planning in the community or within system responses. Teams will have a greater understanding of the formal and informal support people around a young person. And being responsive to basic needs like a safe place to sleep, transportation, and clean clothes shared in the worksheet will also inform responsive safety planning. We're hopeful that the worksheet will make for more targeted case planning, both to reduce risks, but also to reach goals. It can inform ongoing conversations and create stronger partnerships. The Building a Strong Team Response Guide recommends staying curious and open-minded with youth. Finding Your Strengths is a tool to help with that. Lastly, the worksheet encourages youth voice, perspective, and self-advocacy during care planning, team meetings, or court proceedings. Each of these spaces can have such an significant impact on decisions for a young person's life. Young people can benefit from a tool to help them share their strengths and areas of growth over time as a part of these meetings. Here's our contact information on this slide. This tool was created right here in Wisconsin, and we welcome questions and requests for technical assistance. PDFs are available for download at the Wisconsin DCF website as a free resource. Thank you for learning more about finding your strengths.